Welcome back to the Relativity series produced by LA Theater Works. Lead funding for the Relativity series is provided by the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, bridging science and the arts in the modern world. Here's part 2 of Moving Bodies by Arthur Giron, starring Alfred Molina as Richard Feynman.
I'll be teaching 3 lessons from the shuttle. I'll be teaching a lesson in science, 1 in humanities, and another one. Anybody who has the satellite dish will be able to see the teacher teaching from space.
Now, a lot of you freshmen, and I've always loved the freshman class best. Oh, yeah, you love me? Then how come you poke fun at my van?
Because you got photon license plates.
And your van's got Feynman diagrams all over it.
Why shouldn't I have Feynman diagrams all over it? I am Richard Feynman. Now, when you first come on campus and look at my van, you see squiggly lines that don't mean anything to you. Well, by the time you graduate, you're going to read my van. I got the Nobel Prize for those squiggles. See, in a nutshell, the diagrams are a convenient language to make a lot of equations come together in one picture. You can translate a drawing into mathematics. I kind of reconstructed the whole of physics, getting precise measurements where before people got absurd answers. Listen, using my methods, if you measured the distance from LA to New York, it would be exact to the thickness of a human hair. That's how delicately I've checked out quantum electrodynamics. Before I came along, it was a very lengthy affair doing the numbers. You can get a Nobel Prize, too. All you got to do is identify a problem and solve it. Bam! Now, I've got a big personal problem to discuss with you in a minute. Professional and personal. When I get the courage to open up to you about it. See, problems I like. Honors, I don't. My pop was a man of the people. Didn't want me to be fooled by gold braid and other external signs of power, so my fear about showing up to the Nobel Prize ceremony was that I had to put on white tie and tails. Well, here's the scary part. I thought that you're not supposed to turn your back on the king when you pick up your award. You're supposed to back up the stairs. I was so afraid I was going to trip on my tails that I practiced hopping backwards in my hotel room.
Sir, are you okay? Let me help you.
Phooey. Yep, thanks. Yeah, I ain't dead yet. Oh, don't sit down, miss. I need your help. Mm-hmm. A lot of you young ladies sitting in the front here have been leaving pin-ups of yourselves with my secretary. I'm returning them to you today. Now, although my eyesight ain't what it used to be, the eyes are always the first to go. I can see you're all very beautiful in addition to being very brainy. I want to clarify something about my physical condition. There's some speculation that I've got weird stomach cancers because I worked on the atomic bomb. But I don't believe working on the Manhattan Project has anything to do with it. It's been a long while since then, and I've had a full life. Sure, my cancers are mysterious, and I'm fighting them.
We love you, Dick.
Miss, could you please hand back these juicy pinups? I haven't looked at them. Now, you do better getting to know some of the guys there slouching in the back rows.
Okay.
It's very important for you all to live full lives. Have fun. I want you to realize that there's a lot of stuff can't be found in books, can't be measured or predicted, like love. It's the wackiest thing. Totally crazy, but what an elegant high. You're going to be studying high-energy physics. Well, how are you going to know? Identify the soaring sensation, the thrill, the scariness of the unknown if you don't let go and leap without a safety net. Courage is what it takes in the laboratory. And in life. Don't be lazy. Don't waste a minute of your time. Waitresses understand that. They don't waste a minute. Had a waitress girlfriend could turn over 7 tables during lunchtime. Yeah, I'd say I've learned plenty from the ladies. My first wife, Arlene, got me to appreciate drawing, and that was the start of my diagrams. She died very young. Like the teacher, Krista McAuliffe, who was one of the brave young people on the Challenger space shuttle. I've been asked to join the commission of experts set up to find out what caused the fuel to leak, catch fire, and explode. That means I would have to get off my comfort zone here with you. Leave.
No, stay here.
Oh, God, I don't want to. Well, what should I do? It's a big decision for me to venture out into hostile territory. Am I man enough to play hardball with killers? In fact, I know the strain will cost me. I'm talking to you a little bit like a father today because I might not get another chance. If I go, I'll give the investigation every last breath of my existence. I mention this not just to learn what you think, but importantly, you also might find yourselves in this kind of stew. Living the life of theoretical, abstract thinkers. Then suddenly the world intrudes. Hell, it's a paradox, ain't it? We get into this to find out how the world works, but we leave the world itself in order to study it. Because I've been thinking about my parents, I've been thinking about yours. I'll bet they're asking, show me the application of all the abstract, brainy stuff you're studying. Well, you might tell them that a lot of Einstein's work informs our daily lives, governing everything from the atomic bomb to a television cathode ray tube to the carbon dating of prehistoric paintings. And I've explained a lot of physics in my time that makes the laser possible. And you're going to be hearing a lot about lasers in years ahead. I guess what Washington wants is to use my brains to solve this awful tragedy.
I did it, and I accomplished it with having absolutely no idea that I was going to get this far. If I can get this far, you can do it too. And I really hope you have a wonderful year, and I'm going to miss all of you.
Enjoy your swim, sweetheart?
Yes. Can you just put some lotion on my back for me? Your faithful secretary, Penelope, called me this morning to say you returned a stack of pin-up photos to this year's crop of nubile co-eds. She was worried. Thought she must really be under the weather to take such drastic old fogey action.
I ain't an old fogey.
Well then, darling, just think about those old farts in Washington in their droopy drawers, and you won't be intimidated by them one bit.
My pop would have liked you.
You're undressing me with your eyes, aren't you?
I'll never forget the first time I saw you coming out of Lake Geneva in your blue bathing suit, trembling, a raven-haired Venus. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven.
You don't believe in heaven.
The day my pop was buried, my mom asked a rabbi to say prayers. I really blew my stack. Pop didn't believe in religious rituals. Boy, I went wild. I defended Pop's lifelong commitment to reason. What I wasn't understanding was how much my poppy loved my mom, so he wouldn't have minded if having a rabbi on hand was a help to my mom with her grief. God, I was pissed off about a lot of things after the war. Real angry kid. I laid it all on my mom and the rabbi. There isn't much I regret in my life, but my juvenile behavior that day. Gwyneth, I wish I could relive that day. Make it right. Clean up my act.
I think I would have liked your father. He would have backed me up when you get intractable.
I've been thinking a lot about what he'd say about me going to Washington. He had a scorn for guys in uniform, authority figures. It was bad enough that I accepted the Nobel Prize. Pop just hated aristocracy, all that.
He would have loved the trumpets, don't you think?
No trumpets in D.C.
But lots of fanfare. It's going to be a public relations circus. What a chance for you to prick all the hot air posturing that's going to be done before the press. You could really deflate their phony rhetoric. I think that would please your father very much.
I'm in two minds about the whole thing. I can't do anything in a half-ass way. So I throw myself into the investigation, all stops out, but the price is steep. I ain't got a lot of energy to spare, sweetheart.
Maybe your body is slowing down, but baby, your brain is not. Your adorable brain.
Boy, If I'd known at the start that dames dug brains, I wouldn't have worried so much about my klutzy athletic coordination. Phooey.
When we met in Geneva and you told me you were attending a world-class scientific conference, I became intrigued right away.
And I was so worried that sex and science don't mix. Now, I get it when
What?
When it's all coming to an end.
The brave people on the Challenger were too young to die, Sweetness. And I suspect their deaths could have been prevented. I'm sure it hasn't escaped you that on board was a young woman.
Krista McAuliffe, the school teacher from New England. President Reagan was supposed to receive a phone call from space from her during his State of the Union address. The shuttle had to be launched fast, ready or not. I think her voice was also scheduled to be piped into classrooms all over the globe. She was too young to die.
Surely you made a mental connection between that girl and Arlene.
And me. Because she was a teacher, too. My sister could have been on board. She always wanted to conquer space travel.
Spot on. Richard Feynman, you were born to be on the Challenger Commission. You have the research skills and the teaching ability to explain your highly technical findings in simple language. This final great accomplishment could be the jewel in your crown.
You're so British, my Britannica.
You're not dead yet, darling. Come here, you. It will do you good to get out of your comfort zone and fight the good fight. I've never regretted for one instant that I flew away from everything I hold dear to venture into a foreign world full of physicists.
Gee, I never felt foreign.
Do you consider yourself normal?
Well, I'm not lazy.
That's true.
Neither are you.
We make a good couple.
Couple of what?
What would happen if we changed places?
You mean what would happen if I could be you and you could be me?
I'm serious.
But you're not talking about costumes.
Well, we could go as each other to the next faculty fancy dress ball, but...
Oh, the hell with a fantasy bash. You could go in my place to testify in Washington, D.C.
Righto. I'd be happy to go. If it would give you a few more months of life. Mr. friggin' Chairman and yous big-time astronauts and stuffed shoit generals on the panel, I gotta tell yous, I broke my policy to stay out of Washington because my old man brought me up to give the bad guys the finger. And I'm here to tell you that I'd done my homework. In case you're wondering what I've been doing while the rest of yous was taking public relations tours to Cape Canaveral, I was talking to the blue-collar types that did the actual building of the shuttle. We're right there when it was assembled on the launching pad on that dark and cold morning, putting together what the engineers told me at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, where my sister works, matching up the manufacturer's test results and the real thing in action.
Spot on. So what's really bugging you?
I was just concerned that your medical condition had broken your spirit. That's why I think you should go to Washington. I hope your famous curiosity is wet. I'm going to call your sister. She'll help you.
So I am today announcing the formation of a presidential commission on the Space Shuttle Challenger's action. The commission will review the circumstances surrounding the accident, determine the probable causes, and develop recommendations for corrective action.
When we were kids, we were so hopeful in science and technology, busting to make life better for everybody. And it has, when discoveries are converted into practical, affordable, fun gadgets. But we always get into terrible trouble when we go to the very edge of things and don't test stuff properly. People die in the process. The cost is so great. Once upon a time, the scientific community was so small, checks and balances were automatic. We welcomed scrutiny, didn't fear informed criticism. We were open about everything. That's the point of scientific method, isn't it? Progress comes from making your findings public, so another guy can build on your work, make the world a better place. That's the point, isn't it? But then the government got involved, and a veil of secrecy was drawn over all our laboratories. And with good reason. We were at war. All our brain power was aimed toward destruction, and we won the war. Suddenly, science became big business. Huge grants to universities to build expensive cyclotrons, new buildings. And we physicists, we became bigger than Groucho, Jack, and Fred, Hollywood stars. We picked up Nobel Prizes along the way. None of us can live up to the expectations of the public. It's crazy. What happened? Folks, I just want you to know where I'm coming from. I truly grieve for the entire crew of the Challenger. But my heart breaks, particularly for that girl, the teacher from somewhere in New England, the McAuliffe girl. See, if we don't respect life in this country, we're just lost. That puff of smoke, the flames shooting up.
Dr. Feynman, your microphone is on.
Oh, yeah?
You must have pushed the button accidentally.
Sorry. I'm a klutz when it comes to mechanical stuff.
Professor Feynman isn't himself. He's under the weather. Sir, please sit. Rest your bones.
All my life, people have been telling me to shut up and sit down.
The button.
Can I make one request before I turn the damn thing off?
Certainly, but make it quick. You've already disrupted the proper order of our proceedings. I know you don't mean to.
I gotta have a tall glass of ice water.
Could we have ice water for all the participants, please?
That's gonna take more time.
Before we begin, I want to reiterate to Congress, the press, and the grieving families that we are not conducting this investigation in a manner which would be unfairly critical of NASA because we think, well, I certainly think, NASA has done an excellent job, and I think the American people do. Dr. Feynman, could you please stop drumming?
Sorry.
President Ronald Reagan, who is determined to continue support of the space program, appointed this investigatory commission, and by the end of the day, we will conclude our findings. Just a few more witnesses and the conclusions of some members of this commission. I call on Mr. Graham, acting administrator of space.
In the interest of total disclosure, 30 years ago, I sat in a class called Physics 10. It was the best course at Caltech. It was taught by that gentleman sitting there, Dr. Richard Feynman. His methods were unique, unorthodox, to say the least. But to this day, I recall practically every principle he taught us. Particle science has never been the same following his work because...
Mr. Graham, our time is limited. Dr. Feynman's achievements are spelled out in the press kit.
Hi, Graham.
How are you, Dick? This country is very grateful that you're allowing us to use the time you got left.
No, I ain't dead yet.
The plane is ready now, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, Julius. Been a long time.
Feynman?
Thank you, Mr. Lowenthal. Dr. Feynman, you are excused. A plane equipped with a hospital bed and staffed with medical personnel is fueled and ready to fly you home immediately.
I'll be as quick and clear as I can be. From the moment I was appointed to this commission, I started digging. Met with a series of engineers at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. My sister works there. So I turned to them with confidence because they'd worked on solid rocket boosters and the engines. From the first day, we noted well-known problems with the rubber O-rings.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I think
Yes, Lowenthal.
The O-rings that seal the joints between sections of the tall, solid-fuel rockets. Ordinary rubber rings. Hey, what's happened to my microphone? What the hell, I'm used to addressing a lecture hall full of people. Can you hear me back there?
Yes.
Sir, can we talk about the weather? No one has so far.
Who can stop you?
The day of the launch. It was so cold, ice formed on the equipment all over the launching pad. Graham, did you get any warning that low temperature could pose a problem?
If talk about the weather had been of significance, it would have been introduced as a fruitful topic before now by more knowledgeable experts in the field of aerodynamics.
Well, I'd like to answer that question. The night before the launch, there was a discussion with the manufacturer about the O-rings. Low temperature was a concern. A representative of the company, Mr. Lowenthal, standing right there. Didn't you recommend that the launch proceed?
That is correct.
There. Dr. Feynman, are you satisfied?
Hey, Julius, wasn't there evidence of blow-by?
What is that? What is the significance of that?
Blow-by is soot.
There was evidence of soot showing that hot gases had burned through seals that were supposed to contain them. Now, we're here to learn if that's significant or not.
Go home, Dr. Feynman. You mustn't strain yourself. Lowenthal, will you please escort Dr. Feynman to his flight?
Of course. But I'd like to emphasize that the O-rings were used in pairs and that the secondary O-rings always seem to hold.
That wasn't a cause for concern, was it?
On the contrary, it's an anomaly. Isn't that so, Mr. Lowenthal?
Well, I feel a bit caught off guard. Mr. Graham's agency knew all along of a potential loss of resiliency when the rubber O-rings were cold. Come on, Feynman, let's scram.
I'm sick. I'm sweating. Gotta have a glass of ice water, fast, or I ain't moving. Oh, boys, it's like pulling teeth around here, getting the most simple stuff.
Mr. Lowenthal, would you be so kind as to see to it so we can bring the proceedings back to a semblance of order?
Yes, sir.
Before the Assembly weighs Dr. Feynman's words, it's important to clarify that he is taking strong medication due to a serious illness.
Just one more question. Graham, would you please tell us why resiliency was crucial?
Well, say we used a soft metal like lead. Squeezed it into a gap, it wouldn't be able to hold a seal amid the vibration and changing pressure.
If this material weren't resilient for, say, a second or two, that would be enough to be a very dangerous situation, wouldn't it? Yeah, I've got to tell you, I've been very frustrated by the documents I requested, which show how the rubber responded over a period of hours instead of milliseconds. Why can't the space agency answer a simple question?
Because a straightforward test has never been performed.
Then perhaps we can perform one now.
Now?
I'm prepared to do just that. Perform for you a little experiment.
Here?
Here.
This is not a laboratory. The conditions are not scientific.
They are. As any child knows, transformations can be achieved without spending a lot of money. Now, these pliers didn't cost me an arm and a leg. This little C-clamp here, a few pennies more. Now, just a couple of simple, everyday objects are needed. Toys, really. It's the scientific principle that counts. Where's my water? Could I take a look at the model of the space shuttle, please?
Bring Dr. Feynman the Challenger model.
The coffin. Bring the model of the billion-dollar coffin. Mr. Chairman, I got to attend a funeral, so I'll be out of your hair pretty soon. Thanks, gentlemen. Mr. Graham, this model reproduces the materials used?
It does.
I'm going to take out a section of the rubber O-rings.
Go ahead.
I'm sweating. I can't see straight.
Here's your ice water.
Oh, boy. Thanks, Julius. There. That's got it. I'm ready, Mr. Chairman. I'll say my piece and get out of here.
I grant you the floor for 5 minutes.
Now, you see, I've taken a section of the rubber O-ring material from the model. It springs back and forth. Now, I'm going to put this in the ice water. Ice is a stable 32 degrees, the exact temperature at the time of the launch. The shuttle's solid rocket boosters were made in sections, assembled one atop another at the launch site. The joints holding the sections together had to be sealed to prevent the escape of hot gases from inside the rocket. The pressure of the gas was supposed to wedge the rings tightly into the joints, creating the seal. Okay, now I'm taking this stuff that I got out of your seal and putting it into the ice water. I wonder why, I wonder why, I wonder why, I wonder. Now I take it out, and I put some pressure on it in my C-clamp. Now I undo it. What do we discover? It doesn't stretch back. It stays the same dimension. In other words, for a few seconds at least, and more than that, there is no resilience in this particular material when it is at a temperature of 32 degrees. I believe that has some significance for our problem. Nature cannot be fooled.
Silence!
And then those people died because of bureaucratic negligence?
This is merely a minority report.
Statement, please, Dr. Feynman.
Things are getting out of control here. Clear the room.
For a successful technology, reality must take precedence over public relations. I gotta go to Poppy's funeral.
Dr. Feynman, you singled out Krista McCullough. Why?
Because she wanted to teach kids how beautiful the world is.
Hey,
Ready.
call somebody.
Let's go home.
Clear the room! Doctor! Clear the room!
We have no downlink. We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
Let's go home.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you for giving me half of the universe.
I know you're making good use of it. Yeah, let's go home. Want to relive Poppy's funeral. Make things right.
Thank God you're home. You were born to bury your father. Good news. Father's going to be buried next to your brother. Mel's going to have a proper funeral today.
I'll go make sandwiches.
What are you doing?
I'm not talking to you.
Put aside those bongos. You aren't a boy anymore.
I'm writing a letter to Arlene in my head. I want to tell her I got a teaching job.
Here, put on your father's inheritance. You get all his clothes.
No.
You look like a bum. Respect his memory. He may have been an atheist, but he was a sharp dresser. True or false?
Ah, the hell with it.
He knew. He knew the secret of the universe. How to make a woman happy. He was a god.
Yeah, great men know my name, but around here I'm a bum. Why is that?
Wait till you kids see the family mausoleum my father made for us in Queens. The Russians are never going to break in. Once we're dead, honey, we'll all be safe. Now, be a nice boy and offer to address Rabbi Kahn's congregation about the atomic bomb.
Ma!
He's very up-to-date, so good-looking.
Call off the rabbi.
Uncle Sam would have made a man of you. Would have been better for you to come out of the trenches wearing a chaplain's uniform like Rabbi Kahn. What a man.
Pop hated guys in uniform.
So, are you ready to rise to the occasion?
Hey, brother. What does this mausoleum remind you of?
A bomb shelter.
Exactly.
The coffin. Hello, Rabbi.
Hello, Mrs. Feynman.
He looks like my father.
Respect.
Let's begin. Richard, recite Kaddish with me.
My father was a scientist.
I thought you said he sold uniforms, Mrs. Feynman.
No disrespect, Rabbi, but my father stood for skepticism, not superstition.
Hey, no isms in the cemetery.
Ow. I don't know Hebrew.
Let's say the mourner's prayer in English.
I'm gonna blow my stack.
I like it better in Hebrew.
Me too.
More eternal.
This stinks to high heaven. It's crazy.
Can't you both see he's broken-hearted?
I'm gonna blow.
Start Rabbi in Hebrew. He'll follow the bouncing ball.
Rabbi, my brother's had to sign 2 death certificates lately. Another death opens the wounds of the first one. He hasn't been able to mourn her properly. None of us has.
Why wasn't I told? You just had another funeral?
My wife.
Did I meet her?
We were married by a judge.
It was a love marriage. They lived in Albuquerque.
What were you doing out there?
Patsy was in a Presbyterian sanatorium.
When you wrote Putsy, Mr. Period...
It isn't proper to speak about a woman's period when there's a corpse nearby.
That proved to be only a symptom of her illness.
Was she Presbyterian?
Well, she came from Cedarhurst. Arlene Greenbaum. But Richard called her Putsy.
Oh.
And she called me Coach.
I loved her.
Rabbi, if it's all right by you, can we remember Mrs. Richard Feynman today, too?
2 for the price of 1.
Sister?
Sorry.
Ma. Thanks for calling Putsy, Mrs. Feynman.
Maybe she was your wife, Riddy, but she became my sick daughter.
My big sister.
She should have been buried here.
Yeah, but her folks wanted her coffin, so I caved in.
Well, you shouldn't have.
I thought you didn't want her.
I wanted her.
Rabbi, can I go get her?
Not today. Okay, I'm going to pray.
Wait, Rabbi, I want us to include the Japanese in this.
What Japanese?
The ones my son, the physicist, murdered.
During the war?
Thousands.
Really, don't cave in anymore.
Okay.
About anything.
I didn't kill thousands of Japanese.
Where are Hiroshima and Nagasaki today?
In fact, when I heard the news, I vomited in the bushes. We wanted to give Hitler the finger. We never imagined our baby would be dropped on innocent civilians.
Stop carrying the weight of the world on your back.
How can I do that?
Have fun.
We used to have fun. It's my fault. For whatever I've done, I'll spend what's left of my life trying to make up for... The problem, believe it or not, is just that the Feynmans, we love too much.
It's a problem.
You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Come here. Come here, both of you.
Oh, Mom.
Oh, my babies.
You have very modern children, Mrs. Feynman. That's a blessing. Both beautiful. It's encouraging to me to know that there are young American Jews who will ensure our future. They've got backbone. We need to inform, revitalize our beliefs, test them.
Death is so final. I'm burned out, Rabbi. I haven't an idea in my head.
Well, it takes a woman to get our blood boiling, doesn't it? Flowing to our brains.
A dirty-minded rabbi, hallelujah. My pop would have liked you.
Yeah, remember, I just spent a couple of years with young guys like you as a chaplain under fire. Richard, you are a lover. I'll bet women fall all over themselves for you.
My father believes sex and science don't mix.
Yeah, my father feels sex and spirituality don't mix, but there's a science to it.
I gotta catch a train.
Today, we mourn Melville Feynman, the scientist. Arlene Greenbaum Feynman, beloved wife of Richard, and the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yid Gadal v'Yid Gadah Shemei Rabbah. Bialma divera chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'cheyechon uvyomechon uv'cheye dechol v'Israel.
Patsy, although you've been dead for 2 years, I want you to know that I got a teaching job here at Cornell. Frankly, I don't have the heart to start teaching. I came a couple of days early to case out the joint. So what happened? There are still wartime housing shortages around here. There ain't a bed to be had anywhere. So I'm making a bed for myself out of dead leaves. I thought you'd be glad I got a teaching job. So I'm telling you, I miss you. Good night.
You've just heard Moving Bodies by Arthur Giron, directed by Rosalind Ayres. Susan Albert Loewenberg, producing director. Starring in alphabetical order, Emily Bergl as Arlene Greenbaum, Jessica Chastain as Sally, Jill Gascoine as Gwyneth, Matt Gaydos as Frankie, Harry Groener as Julius Lowenthal, Ari Gross as the rabbi and members of the commission, Kathryn Hahn as Joan Feynman, Mark Harelik as Melville Feynman, Kathryn Leonard as Doris and other voices, Mary McGowan as young Joan, Alec Medlock as young Richard Feynman, Alfred Molina as Richard Feynman, Jenny O'Hara as Lucille Feynman, Raphael Sbarge as Robert Oppenheimer, Joe Spano as Mr. Graham, and John Vickery as chairman of the Challenger Inquiry Commission. Original music performed by Eric Sokol on the bongos and Adam Chevitz on piano. Live sound effects by Tracy Patton, Mark Holden, and Rosalind Ayres. Recording, editing, and mixing engineer, Mark Holden. And next time on the Relativity series, the story of an infamous experiment.
Now, you read out those words clearly to the learner.
Big. Boy, cat, cake, plate.
Cake.
Correct. Sad. Face, girl, song, poem.
Face.
Incorrect. 90 volts.
Please read him the correct response.
The correct response is sad girl.
Continue, please.
Shiny. Penny, shoe, bike, car.
Shoe.
That is incorrect. I have to give you 120 volts now. Are you sure he's okay in there?
Please read him the correct response and then continue.
Okay. The correct answer is shiny bike. Slow. Man, horse, dog, rabbit.
Dog.
Correct. Sweet. Girl, cake, candy, plum.
Candy.
Incorrect. I'm giving you 150 volts.
Please read him the correct response.
The correct answer is sweet plum. Look, are you sure this is not hurting him?
The shocks can be initially painful.
It just sounds like
they
it hurt
aren't
him.
dangerous.
Are you sure? Because I don't want to hurt the guy.
Continue, please. Please continue. Please continue.
Stanley Milgram's obedience experiments come to life in Please Continue by Frank Baslow. Next time on the Relativity series. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a thing. And find out about what we do at LA Theater Works on our website at latw.org or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Ron Lipkin. Thanks so much for joining us. The Relativity series is produced by LA Theater Works. Lead funding for the Relativity series is provided by the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, bridging science and the arts in the modern world.